Hello, I'm Perry here from Rennet and Rind over in Cambridge. We have a shop in Stamford, and I'm here to talk to you about the 5 cheeses you've received. If you received it as a gift, or bought it for yourself, or you're chilling out on Valentine's Day, I've kind of thought that in mind with this box and enjoying each other's company. I'm Britain's first ever affineur of the year. Affineur is someone who looks after cheese, gives it everything it needs, brushing, turning, washing to get it to its optimum condition, as well as grading, selecting. Yeah, and I've won it the first year and I've won it the second year, and hopefully that leaves me qualified enough to actually talk to you about why I selected these cheeses. So in your box you would have got some biscuits from Peter's Yard, obviously your 5 cheeses. You would have got some tasting notes. Let me just dig that out from under the cheese that I'm going to get later, which is these ones here. So you can just go straight into that. So if you are having a romantic evening, I won't interrupt. So let's start. Let's talk about our first cheese. Now, Camembert. So this is Tunworth, made by Stacey Hedges, Hampshire, pretty much like one of the kind of, not trifecta, it's larger than that, it's more like a hexagonal kind of group of people that really spearheaded the British artisan cheese renaissance, like Poacher, like Yarg. And Tunworth is just a delicious cheese. It's a Camembert style. The cool fact that everyone loves to roll out, but I think it's more British than French these days. Raymond Blanc said this cheese is the best Camembert in the world. And that's the proof in the pudding. I've put these in a full one in a box. Great value for money for you to be able to bake. So it may be too late at this point, but 180 degrees, 10 minutes, cut some holes in the top, basically let it kind of breathe a little bit more. And you've got a perfect kind of crusty bread with your Peter's Yard crackers scenario. But yeah, it's a delicious little cheese, nice and squidgy. We've got a little bit of kind of chalk line in the middle, so we keep it fresh. Kind of this time of the year, I'm really conscious about those light flavours that we want to get into the cheeses rather than those deep savoury notes, which we have a nod to, but not too much. Like really kind of mushroomy, like butter mushrooms. Like if you just bought some mushrooms at a farmer's market, put them in the fridge, you're about to cook and you get them open, you get that kind of real dug up earthiness from it, which is amazing. This Penicillium candidum that's on the rind there, which we would expect. Proof is in the pudding, clue is in the word, Camembert. We've done, let's have a taste. Surprisingly not as chalky, good salt. I get that up front, that salt which is really nice, really mineral, that kind of cabbagey element, which you expect with Camembert, like comes fully through, which is nice. But dairy's in the back note, which is really nice. I don't normally find dairy too strong in like Tunworth, but that dairy note's really not long and lasting. Kind of feels a bit triple creme cheese, this does at the moment. Feels a little bit like a Delete actually, which is lovely. Really delicious. So bake it, have it on a cheese board. Obviously we've given you a larger one, not just a small bit. It's just so I could fit it on the board. So yeah, Tunworth, your first cheese. Next cheese up, Westcombe. So Westcombe, made down in Somerset by Tom Calver. It's really amazing, a really amazing profile at the moment. In the shop, we kind of go through throws of like what's everyone's favourite cheddar. And Westcombe has just kind of like nailed it recently. Let me just chop a little piece off that's there. It's kind of very creamy. I'm normally used to it not being as creamier as this, like a little tad drier. But when you've got creamier cheeses, particularly cheddars, the flavour tends to elongate more. To me, becomes a little bit more watered down and you have to search around for it a bit. But we've got creaminess and big flavour. Aroma, like I'm getting a lot of citrus, a little bit of kind of like Parma ham that's there, so a little bit meaty, but like not too overpowering, which is quite nice. So these are like traditional cloth-bound cheddars, like, anything you get in the supermarket is vat packed. These are old school methods in massive wheels. The way that we used to make cheese and the way we still should. There's a big argument about fermentation, being really good for you in the long term. And I think we're starting to see that data really come through now, and people really opt to choose more probiotic, natural cheeses. So let's have a taste. So quite savoury up front. You know, I get a bit of umami, touch of soy sauce. I get a little bit of a horseradishy note as well, just briefly. It elongates out nice and smooth. That tang comes through, and that is really pleasant. And it's kind of there, and then it dissipates. It goes into like almost a bitter tonic, which is there. The texture is lovely to chew on. Not as creamy as I first expected, which would explain why the flavour is actually more complex to me. So Moorish, really delicious. That's cheese number 2. Next cheese up is something we did, and I kind of wanted to share it with a more wider community. So this is Morton, which has actually been washed in Perry by Oliver's Cider. And it provides like a different aspect to the cheese. So this is like a Tom de Savoie kind of style. And washing it just provides a really complex rind that's on this. We can see these kind of holes and gaps that you would typically find in a Tom de Savoie. We've got that peachy rind that we're all used to seeing in washed cheeses. Or an aroma, it's stinky, right? It's a washed rind cheese, it's gonna stink. Let's have a taste. Cool difference to like move away from the Westcombe there. You know, that funk is really noticeable, but it's a cool, I mean, it's so fascinating to me because every time I taste this cheese, it reminds me of, in a good way, like when you really fancy burnt toast. You know, when you've just kind of burnt it a little bit too much, you need to put, you know, you put your butter on top, walk away for a couple of minutes, and those little flinty kind of little bits of kind of crisp get into the butter, and it just tastes beautiful. And I just get that consistently with this cheese, which is just stunning. I just think it's so peculiar. And I think it's a bit of an acquired taste. I think like some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. But I think it's a very, very cool cheese. Next up we have is Fresco. So Fresco is made by, Mario. He lives in Otley, Yorkshireman. Great, well, not Yorkshireman, he's originally from Sardinia. And he's got this really cool Italian Yorkshire accent, which really throws me. I love that. Makes a few of our cheeses. I think this is a really nice time to kind of try something different. And this is our very different cheese. So essentially it's a young pecorino, lactic set, quite acidic, really unusual texture, quite rigid, quite rubbery, but it makes it really, really interesting because it provides this level of like tartness. So on the nose, it's basically like sour cream. You know, it's recognizable as you pull off that lid, mixed with a little bit of double cream, but more sour cream. And the texture, like I said, is rubbery. And what I'm hoping is that kind of that flavour from the Perry washed Morton kind of lingers. I'm hoping this kicks it up a notch. So yeah, tart, acid. Now the cool thing, which I didn't, now obviously I put all these cheeses in a journey. And one thing I didn't quite account for was actually the acidity of the previous cheese. Now I thought it would work, like it is planned, but it really punches through the acidity of the cheese actually and gives it something to compete with. And you get this really, like quite sweet note actually, quite cottage cheese, ricotta, and it's sheep's milk. And you get the kind of this aromatic kind of like flowers, kind of meadow kind of vibe. Really different. I think I might have done a few, these two, I think they might be split the crowd a little bit, but we're here to learn. We're not here to do the same cheeses every week. We're here to show you cheeses in different styles, profiles. We're never ones to hunt the current trend of what it is. But yeah. So that's Pecorino Fresco. I think it's pretty cool actually at the moment. So I'm quite excited about that. I might think about using that a bit in cooking actually as well. I think I've got some idea. Anyway, I divulge. And final cheese is the Duke. So it's our own cheese. that at the World Cheese Awards, it won Super Gold. It's just tasting really good at the moment. So we've got like kind of this dual texture that's happening. Let me try and cut this bit off. So we've got a flinty kind of run. The bluing is really nice and dark on it, which is great. We've got a little bit like you want to get a cross section because this bit is a little bit more crumbly that's in there. So it'd be nice to kind of mix those two worlds together. So we've got this really nice oozy Cambozola texture. It's got like a kind of mushroomy rind, so you can see that covering of the dark molds that are on there. And that makes it actually more anchored in bitters, which is really interesting, I find, for blue cheeses, because blue cheeses just tend to be in one dimension, which tend to be quite savoury and quite atypical, where this, it kind of pushes the boundaries in terms of hitting you on that bitter tang kind of note. So let's have a taste. Really great. It links in really well with the previous cheese, actually. That bitterness is coming through. It's very wary, very, like IPA or something like that, that kind of sits there and that tang's there and the cream's there. So it amalgamates kind of into one big kind of journey and kind of like leaves you questioning like, oh, it's quite nice. I want another piece to kind of work out what was going there. Oh, and when you get a real oozy bit, that really coats the palate. And that savoury of meat really comes in. That was the Duke. And that's your 5 cheeses for February. I hope you guys enjoyed. And we're a small independent business. We've been doing this since COVID, essentially, to really support British artisan cheese. It's tough. It's tough, artisan cheese, and we should cherish it more. And every one of these cheeses behind it has great people working on it, not just some faceless corporation. And that's what we're all about, trying to help, bring our artisan cheese industry forward so more people can be like proud of it and we can export more around the world and, do really, really well for our kind of, I always say local economy, but it always feels local when you're living on such a small island like ours. So I hope you enjoy it. Check us out on social media. If you're in Stamford, come into the shop and check us out. So enjoy. Thank you very much.